favorite things, the grand finale next Oprah.
Good morning, America. I'm Robin Roberts.
And I'm George Stephanopoulos. It's Monday, November 22nd, and this morning's security showdown. The TSA responds to the growing outrage from travelers over body searches, including a father whose son had to remove his shirt, and the cancer survivor who said he was humiliated.
I was so embarrassed and so petrified of going out into the airport thinking people would see me and quote-unquote smell me.
TSA Chief John Pistol talks to us this morning.
Terror alert. A manhunt to track down 2 suicide bombers who could attack in Europe this week. Plus, Al-Qaeda's threat of more attacks against the U.S. Brian Ross has the latest.
A GMA exclusive. Inside Charlie Sheen's hotel rampage, for the first time, the woman who was in the room, Capri Anderson, breaks her silence. Her story live. Why she says she feared for her life.
And media blitz, from her new book to her daughter's ballroom showdown. Sarah Palin seems to be everywhere, but not everyone approves. Why Barbara Bush and other Republicans are saying enough.
From ABC News, live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America with Robin Roberts and George Stephanopoulos.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you had a good weekend. It's great to have Robin back. So you were traveling this weekend. Did you get the pat down?
No pat down. I'm not looking forward to traveling again on Wednesday. That's the big concern.
It is a very tense time at airports right now. New complaints this morning from 2 people about TSA going inside their underwear. That happened to an ABC News employee. We want to find out if that's policy, so we're going to talk in a few minutes to the head of the TSA.
So tense there at the airports all across the country. And also the adult film actress who was there when Charlie Sheen allegedly trashed his New York hotel room. Well, Capri Anderson is filing a lawsuit this morning accusing him of battery and assault. And she paints a picture of Sheen, intoxicated, violent, out of control, says he even threatened to kill her. Well, she is here live this morning to tell us her story in the GMA exclusive.
That is coming up, but we begin with the latest on the effort to prevent terrorist attacks at home and abroad. Police are searching right now for 2 suicide bombers in Europe, and the dome of the German parliament has been closed because of threats there. Brian Ross will have more on that in just a minute, but first let's go to Sharon Alfonsi live at LaGuardia Airport here in New York. Sharon?
Good morning, George. Well, the TSA was certainly hoping to have those kinks ironed out by the Thanksgiving rush, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. We're hearing from kids, cancer survivors, even senior citizens who say they were humiliated and worse by the TSA. Across the country, the stories are rolling in. Thomas Sawyer, a bladder cancer survivor, says he was humiliated after a pat-down broke his urostomy bag, leaving the 61-year-old covered in his own urine. This after warning them twice that touching the bag could break the seal.
I was so embarrassed and so petrified of going out into the airport thinking people would see me and quote-unquote smell me. My underwear had been dropped to the floor. I'm standing in front of them with my underwear and had to ask to pull it up.
Kathy Bossy, a longtime flight attendant and breast cancer survivor, says the TSA made her take out her prosthetic breast.
She put her full hand on my breast and said, "What is this?" And I said, "It's a prosthesis because I've had breast cancer." And she goes, "Well, you'll need to show me that."
And Carolyn Durand, an ABC employee, says she's never experienced screening this intrusive.
The woman who checked me reached her hands inside my underwear and felt her way around. It was basically worse than going to the gynecologist. It was embarrassing, it was demeaning, it was inappropriate.
And now this video of a father taking off his young son's shirt for a pat-down has become a YouTube sensation.
For the first time in the post 9/11 environment, travelers are now saying they're willing to discuss risk. They're willing to discuss trade-offs. That's a discussion we need to have.
This morning, the TSA is promising to make screening as, quote, minimally invasive as possible after a weekend of White House pressure.
What I've said to the TSA is that you have to constantly refine and measure whether what we're doing is the only way to assure the American people's safety.
Would you submit to one of these pat-downs?
Not if I could avoid it. No, I mean, who would?
For their part, TSA officers say they've been screamed at, even punched for following policy. And this weekend, Saturday Night Live took their shot.
Do you want to feel contact in certain special places?
Then why not go through security at an airport?
The TSA, it's our business to touch yours.
And a lot of people are getting to airports and they're saying, what's the big deal? They're not seeing any big changes. That's because about 80% of airports don't have these scanners, so you're not having the scanner or the pat down. So you might fly out of one airport, everything's normal like it used to be, but flying out of another could be a whole different ballgame. That is adding to the confusion. Robin?
Yeah, the lack of consistency. All right, Sharon. You know, here at home, there may be concern over overreaction to the terrorist threat, but in Europe, the opposite is the case, with a high-stakes manhunt going on at this very moment. Brian Ross has the latest on that. Good morning, Brian.
Well, good morning, Robin. Well, this is a tense time in the U.S. and in Europe where security officials privately admit they are scrambling to stop an expected terror attack of some kind somewhere soon. From the airport pat-downs in this country to a search for 2 suicide bombers believed to be at large now in Germany.
After first playing down the threat, officials in Germany are now at full alert. In Berlin, police were told to look for 2 suspected suicide bombers trained by al-Qaeda in Pakistan. All weekend, German television provided a range of precise details. At the same time over the weekend, al-Qaeda gloated over the disruptions being caused by its failed plot to blow up 2 cargo planes. In an online magazine called Inspire, al-Qaeda in Yemen said for an expenditure of just $4,200, it had forced the U.S. to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on extra security measures, including the intrusive pat-downs.
The Al-Qaeda magazine is essentially correct that for a few $100s on their part and very little effort, they get this enormous reaction from us. And that is the basis of asymmetrical guerrilla warfare, asymmetrical terrorism. A small effort on their part requires a huge effort on our part.
Calling it Operation Hemorrhage, the al-Qaeda bomb makers posted details of the parcel bombs they had sent, promising similar operations to come. Success, they said, was measured by economic harm, by, quote, the spread of fear that would cause the West to invest billions of dollars in new security procedures.
Terrorists are always trying to drain the resources and the morale of the other side. And I think they are being very successful in draining our resources.
U.S. law enforcement officials say the twisted ingenuity of the al-Qaeda bomb makers is a good part of the reason U.S. passengers are now getting pat-downs, that they are using materials in their bombs that cannot be detected by all the expensive screening machines currently in place. Robin?
All right, Brian, thank you. So much to talk about on the terrorism front. And joining us now from Washington is the administrator of the TSA, John Pistol. Mr. Pistol, thank you very much for being with us this morning. I know how trying these times are right now. And in addition to what Brian Ross was just reporting, are there any specific, credible, recent threats that are causing what some believe to be these invasive screening tactics?
Well, Robin, we know the threats are real, and we've seen this latest information coming out of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula with their magazine describing the detail that they went into in terms of concealing, disguising, and shipping the 2 cargo packages out of Yemen end of last month.
I don't have to tell you how upset people are, and some that are saying that TSA agents are even going in their underwear as part of the screening process. Is there ever any circumstance where that is warranted?
No, there should never be a situation where that happens.
So what happens? What kind of recourse do you have if they do these things that people are saying?
Well, again, the security officers are there to protect the traveling public, and there are specific standard operating protocols which they are to follow. And the same with the advanced imaging technology, the walk-through metal detectors, all these different layers of security that we have, there are specific standard operating protocols that they follow.
Administrator Pistol, there's been a lot of back and forth on whether or not the TSA, you're willing to adapt these recent policies. Can you clear up for us once and for all this morning? Are you willing to adapt? Are you going to change it?
Yeah, so Robin, the bottom line is we are always adapting and adjusting our protocols in view of the intelligence and in view of the latest information we have about how the terrorists are trying to kill our people on airplanes. I'm also very aware of all the concerns that have been raised by the traveling public, obviously by members of Congress and others, and so yes, we are constantly adapting. So what I am doing is going back and looking at, are there less invasive ways of doing the same type of screening?
So you may change the pat-down procedure?
What I would say is we are constantly evolving to address the latest threats and intelligence, and if that means that we need to adjust those procedures, then of course open to that.
And you know, on Wednesday there are some that are calling that they are going to opt for the pat-down to create chaos and in essence in protest. Do you have enough TSA agents? Are you prepared for that kind of scenario?
Well, we are fully staffed, obviously, for this entire week. And we know over this really 10 to 12-day travel period now for Thanksgiving. So we're fully staffed, and again, come back to the partnership that we hope for with the vast majority of people who want to simply get home.
Brian Ross asked me this question before I was going to sit down and talk with you, sir, about the congestion now in the screening areas because of people opting for the pat-down and all the confusion, and that it's creating such congestion that is a concern, that the amount of people there in an area where there is no security, that could lead to something catastrophic.
Well, of course, we work very closely with the airport police in each airport. The key is how can we best affect the security when people get to the checkpoint, and if people choose to opt out of the advanced imaging technology because they're trying to slow down the process, then I feel bad for the people who are simply, again, wanting to get home for the holidays, that they would be delayed because of that.
Administrator John Pistol, thank you very much. I know it's another one of those weeks for you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Robin.
Take care. Had to go through security at the Miami airport earlier last week, JFK last night, and it is just bedlam.
It is, but he sure did signal to you that they're going to be revising these policies. And remember, when they got under fire over the policies on pilots, they did change them over the weekend.
So we'll see what happens. Let's go now to Juju Chang at the news desk. Good morning, Juju.
Good morning, Robin and George. We're going to stay with news in the airline industry. We turn to the scare for 200 people on a Delta flight from New York. One of the plane's two engines shut down after taking off from Moscow. The plane dumped fuel for more than an hour before landing again. Passengers heard a loud bang. The pilot reported a possible bird strike, but that hasn't been confirmed. Two other Delta flights reported engine problems over the weekend, including one in Atlanta, which scraped its tail during an emergency landing. Stock markets worldwide are mostly higher this morning after Ireland accepted a bailout. The government will take tens of billions of dollars from the European Union to stabilize its banks. The euro is now up against the dollar, and there had been concern that Ireland's debt crisis could spread, derailing the global economic recovery. Hope is fading for those 29 men trapped in a coal mine in New Zealand 3 days after an explosion underground. Crews are sending in a bomb disposal robot, but one official now admits it may be too late to save them because of dangerous gases underground. A far different scene in China, where there was a joyful ending today for more than 24 workers trapped in a coal mine there. The mine flooded over the weekend, but this morning, crews brought each of the miners to the surface and safety. And just in time for Thanksgiving, gas prices have hit their highest level in 6 months, averaging $2.87 per gallon. That's up 5 cents in the last couple of weeks alone. Prices have topped $3 on the West Coast and in New York. And it was all about Bieber fever at the American Music Awards. Usher admitted to crying after Justin Bieber beat him out for 2 awards, but they were tears of pride, he says, because his protege signed on to Usher's label a while back. Bieber scooped up 4 AMAs total, including Artist of the Year. At 16, he's the youngest to ever win that award. And of course, one of the most crowd-pleasing performances of the evening was when the Backstreet Boys joined forces with New Kids on the Block on stage. Look at that. A welcome blast from the past. And that's news at 7:14.
Boy, that is a definition of a win-win for Usher and Justin Bieber.
That's right. If you can't win, the guy that's helping make you money, yeah, let him win. Thanks, Juju. It's time now for the weather. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Robin, George, Juju. Yeah, everyone's happy that way. Let's start with the ice storm that was across the big part of the northern areas, particularly around Minneapolis over the weekend. More than 400 accidents in just 2 hours, and that's the kind of thing this time of year we want to watch very carefully for, that black ice situation. I know you're coming out of fall and summer. The roads look like they're going to be wet, chances are. are this time of year. They're going to be a little icy if they look that dark. And look at these numbers. This is the first, or, you know, there's going to be several rounds of this cool down that's moving through. By the way, we'll tell you Chicago's starting at about 60 degrees today, going to 67. But look at Minneapolis at 30. Look at Williston at 6 below. So there's a big difference in that. And the pattern will be to shift cooler air toward the East Coast. As a matter of fact, look at New York City by Wednesday, 49 degrees. D.C. will drop to around 50. Philly comes in at about 48 degrees. So there'll be several pockets and movements of cold air this week. That's the weather around the nation. Your local forecast just 30 seconds away. But first, here's our selected cities this morning, brought to you by Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats.
This is just what the 8 layers needed.
Hey guys, sorry we're late.
Milk looks warm.
Finally got the whole gang together. Maple brown sugar, strawberry delight, blueberry muffin. Yeah, a little family reunion.
Whoa! We're cereal here.
What? Just cooling it down.
Enough said. Gotcha.
Yeah, safety first. Watch the whole grain.
Try Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats Hot. Just add warm milk and you've got a hot way to keep your kids full and focused all morning.
Dude, your 8 layers are showing.
Oops. Mini Wheats Hot keeps them full, keeps them focused.
Well, good morning to you. We already have rain, some thunderstorms too, moving into the area, well west of the city still, but taking you closer in, out around DeKalb. Just had some thunderstorms roll through there. Out towards Sycamore, Montgomery, some showers and thunderstorms coming into your regions too. Marengo, Huntley, if you're not getting a thunderstorm or a heavy downpour right now, you will in about 15 minutes. 61 right now at O'Hare, going to be a mild, warm day.
Some beautiful southern temperatures in the next half hour. George?
Thank you, Sam. Now to the mother of all media blitzes. Sarah Palin will be front and center watching Bristol on Dancing with the Stars tonight, and that is just the beginning. Her cross-country book tour kicks off this week, too, and one report says that her aides are looking into leasing office space in Iowa. That's the kickoff state for the 2012 presidential campaign. John Berman is tracking it all for us. And John, keeping up with Sarah Palin these days is a full-time job.
I mean, you know, it really is. You have to wake up early for the Sunday shows and stay up late for reality TV. You know, her book tour actually makes 2 stops in Iowa, but only after her swing by Dancing with the Stars. It may be an unconventional path to prominence, but that is Sarah Palin.
It's Sarah Palin's world, and we're all just watching it. This week, anyway. What with the latest episode of Sarah Palin's Alaska on the Learning Channel.
That hurts like crap!
With the finals of Dancing with the Stars. And with her new book, America by Heart, hitting the stands tomorrow.
This is a brilliant strategy for Sarah Palin. It keeps her in the news as a cultural phenomenon, but at the same time, she doesn't really have to answer the hard questions.
Her fans and the media are eating it up, but others don't like the taste. Listen to former First Lady Barbara Bush in an interview airing tonight on CNN.
I thought she was beautiful, and I think she's very happy in Alaska, and I hope she'll stay there.
Listen to conservative George Will on This Week on Palin's visit to Dancing with the Stars.
It's stirring family values, but it's not good training to be president.
And Saturday Night Live got in the mix too, ribbing her for comparing herself to Shakespeare by mistakenly inventing the word refudiate.
Refudiate?
A new addition to the Oxford American Dictionary.
Well, there are a couple of differences between Shakespeare and Sarah Palin.
Stinging rebukes? Well, maybe not.
The fact that establishment Republicans and the establishment media don't like what Sarah Palin is doing only works to her benefit because that plays very well with the Republican base that's going to turn out in those 2012 primaries.
And of course, Sarah Palin loves Twitter. Her latest tweet, encouragement to Bristol for Dancing with the Stars tonight, and a photo she posted. She said, Mark and no drama mama Bristol keeping good perspective at dance studio. Fun and warmer than here. So that's her latest message to her daughter, Bristol.
And if all of her Twitter followers vote, Bristol could be in good shape tonight. But, you know, John, this reminds me back in 1995, Colin Powell, went on a huge book tour, stoked the fires for presidential run, but then backed out. But Sarah does appear to be doing things that would put her in a position to run.
Well, she's certainly out there, and her book tour goes to many states, including Iowa, South Carolina, another important early state, but not New Hampshire. Which is a very important early state, so people are trying to read the tea leaves. Does this mean she's running but not going to compete in New Hampshire? Does this mean she's not running? Too early to tell.
Okay, John Berman, thanks very much.
All right, guys. The mystery woman who locked herself in a bathroom during that bizarre October incident where Charlie Sheen allegedly trashed a New York hotel room is breaking her silence this morning. We're going to talk to adult movie actress Capri Anderson in just a moment. We're going to talk to her live, but first, Ashleigh Banfield has more on the latest of Sheen's very public troubles.
On TV, Charlie Sheen's made millions off his bad boy persona.
I'm not going to lie about who I am or where I've been.
But in real life, the most recent incident in his long history of bad behavior with women may land him back in court. Christina Walsh, known in the adult film world as Capri Anderson, was with Sheen during his New York City hotel room meltdown on October 26th.
What happened with Charlie Sheen that night in the hotel?
Now, new details of just what she alleges happened that night are coming out in a lawsuit. She's suing Sheen for battery, assault, false imprisonment, and emotional distress.
If Charlie Sheen treated a dog the way that he treated Christina Walsh that night, he could very well be in jail.
The lawsuit details Sheen's alleged behavior once they returned to his Plaza hotel room and she resisted his advances. It says he, quote, grabbed Walsh's neck with both hands and began to exert force. Then she alleges he, quote, picked up a lamp from the floor and hurled it at Walsh, grazing her arm. Fearing for her life, she says she locked herself in the bathroom.
He throws himself into the door, banging on the door, let me in, I'll kill you, let me in.
When police arrived in the trashed room seen here in these TMZ photos, they found her still locked in the bathroom with a disturbed and naked Sheen surrounded by broken glass, debris, and blood. Yet at the time, she didn't file a complaint, refused medical attention, and never mentioned an assault. In a statement to ABC News, Sheen's attorney says Ms. Capri never made any allegation of wrongful conduct the night of the incident. She has posted on her website that she was, quote, fine after the incident. We will defend this lawsuit vigorously and will never pay her a dime. These allegations against Mr. Sheen are completely false and are a blatant attempt to cash in on his celebrity.
A guy has one bad night and everybody goes insane and panics and, you know, I'm not panicking.
Perhaps not panicking, but he may have to answer in court. For Good Morning America, Ashleigh Banfield, ABC News.
Not panicking, and the ratings on his show as high as ever. So that's the backstory. Coming up, Capri Anderson joins us live right here in Times Square. What she says really happened that night. It's a GMA exclusive.
Also, the popular princess-to-be creates quite an awkward family moment after Kate and William top British polls. They are way ahead of his dad, Prince Charles, and Camilla.
Plus, the pastor preaching Facebook can lead to infidelity now faces allegations about his own affair, how his painful past is catching up with him now. That's all after local news and weather.